Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sincere thanks to our teacher, Dr. Timap Hegde sir, for allowing me to share some thoughts on this topic of Shraddha on this platform of Param Vedanta. Shraddha is a word with deep meaning and is experiential. Without its understanding, it remains a word on the slide. It is the fifth of the Shatka Sampatti, the six treasures. To remember, Viveka or discrimination, Vairagya or dispassion, desire for moksha or Tivra Mumukshutvam, and discipline is the Shatka Sampatti. And the Shatka Sampatti is the Upasana Yoga. There is no word to explain the meaning or understand this word Shraddha. In simple terms, it is faith. What is Shraddha if this question is asked? Guru Vedanta Vakyadishu Vishwasaha Shraddha. The question is Shraddha ki Drishi, and the answer is absolute faith in the Guru and the purpose of the Vedantas. And that intense Vishwasaha is Shraddha. It is not blind faith. The Jnana Sannyasa Yoga chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 39, mentions Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatparah sanyatendriyaha jnanam labdva param shantihi achirenadhikachyati. And what does it mean? Those who have faith, and it is deep faith, and those who have practiced controlling their mind and senses attain the divine knowledge. Through such transcendental knowledge, they quickly attain everlasting peace. If you look at the 8th verse of Aparokshanubhuti, Nirgamacharya Vakyeshu Bhaktihi Shraddheti Vishruta. Shraddha is implicit faith in the word of the scripture and the teacher. So, this is a very important point. Acceptance of this fact is Shraddha. Let's go to Viveka Chudamani. And in the 25th verse, Bhagavan Adi Bhagavad-pada Shankaracharya mentions Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satyabuddha Avadharanam Sa Shraddha Katitha Sadbhiryaya Vastu Palabhyate. By firm judgment, if we accept as true of what the scriptures and the Guru instructs, that the sages have called as Shraddha or faith, and by which the means of the reality is perceived. To put it in a slightly different way, that by which one understands the import of the scriptures as well as the pregnant words of advice of the preceptor is called by the wise as Shraddha. And the word implies an ability to embrace that truth. So, if you want to know what is the definition of Shraddha, one can attempt to define Shraddha as faith in the words of Vedanta pending verification. It is faith in Vedanta as a Pramana. It is a means of knowledge to know the self. Like the eyes are a means of knowledge, to know form and color, Vedanta is not speculative philosophy. Faith is that which is not illogical but is yet to be established as a fact and hence is subject to verification at a later point. It is like working a hypothesis that a seeker or a scientist makes before he begins an experiment, and he wants to later confirm whether it is true or not. Shraddha is enlightened faith after verification. After we discover and implement and verify the teachings as true, hence it is not blind faith. The difference is subtle. It is difficult to understand. It is often misunderstood. And so our aim is to understand the principle of Shraddha and cultivate it. The student in Vedanta is encouraged to ask questions, express and clear all those doubts with his teacher or the Guru. And in this process, he is expected to give full, unwavering attention to the Upadesha, of course, with the freedom to question. What Vedanta says is indeed true. Hence, it becomes a valid pramana for knowledge, which is beyond perception and light. So, Shraddha is trust with unwavering attention. What you see here is a shopkeeper and a person trying to buy vegetables. He has put a few vegetables in his basket. The shopkeeper has faith that he will pay for the vegetable. The type of the food, and if the shopkeeper says it's a very nice vegetable, has to be experientially realized a priori only when he cuts it, cooks it, and eats it. And this experiential realization, till it happens, is Shraddha. Even Yamadharma Raja himself did caution that a committed seeker should choose a careful teacher. And what did he say? न नरेणावरेण प्रोक्ता एष सुविज्ञेयो बुधया चिन्तमानः अनन्यप्रोक्ते गतिरत्र नास्ति अणीयान्यतर्कमणुप्रमाणात्. Means the self, if taught by an inferior person, is not easily comprehensible. It is variously thought of, unless taught by a person who is a perceiver of non difference, Advaita. There is no way of comprehending it, for it is not arguable and it is subtle than the subtlest. Bhagavad Shankara further goes to explain that aspect of what Yamadharma Raja said and says that Brahmatma Bhutanacharyena, only by a teacher who has become one with Brahman, Aprathak Darshinacharyena, one who is such a teacher who is free from that notion of duality. Agamavatarcharyena, only by a teacher who is well versed in the Agama Shastra, and Swatma Bhute, by a teacher who is realized that Brahman is none other than himself. Such a person can give the purpose of all the teachings of the scriptures. Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya has defined faith as Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Drido Vishaya Shraddha. Faith means firm confidence in the words of the Guru and the scriptures. When such faith is placed in a true Guru, it opens the pathway for eternal welfare. Now we have this question. Religious faith is a friend. Is faith in science an enemy? We know that faith will not stop spiritual inquiry. We are not in the dark ages, we are in modern science. And this spirit of inquiry is possible both in modern science as well as in spirituality. It is so true that a 8-year-old boy, Nachiketa, seeing adharma and not conforming to the scriptures, the dana of those weak cows to gain heaven and paraloka, declares in this verse of the Kathopanishad 13 of the first part, सत्त्वमाग्निघ्नं सर्वज्ञामधेशी मर्त्यो प्रभूति त्वां श्रद्धाधानय मह्यम. And he wants to tell Yamadharma Raja, I believe in the rituals, I believe in heaven, I believe that there is life after death. In short, the entire ritualistic portion is faith based and I believe in it. But he wants something higher and he says, O Lord Yamadharma, I have faith in the rituals and heaven, but please go ahead. I have that Shraddha. Teach me what is the Shreyas, how to gain moksha. The principle of inquiry is subtle. The knowledge of this principle is a daredevil type of inquiry, is what was so well explained by our Guru Swami Paramarthanandaji. And this inquiry, this very knowledge is in a unique form, and that is called as Shraddha. Guru Upadesha is always for the good of the disciple. This unshakable faith is Shraddha, and inquiry is a part of that dialogue. Prama means true knowledge. Pramana is the means of acquiring this knowledge. And this knowledge is defined as yathartham pramanam. That means of knowledge which confirms to the truth. The word pramanam is used not only for the means but also the goal in this context. The pratyaksha or the perception, the anumana or the inference, and the shabda pramana or the verbal authority is taken as an example in this aspect. And the verbal authority, Shabda, here means the Shastras, the scriptures. And it is this Shastra which is Shruti based. And when it comes from a teacher, through the use of appropriate words to convey that knowledge, that is Shraddha. Perceptual knowledge is gained through the senses. The eyes conform to the form and color, the ears hear. Each one is specific to its own field, and one cannot establish the existence of heaven or hell by this perception or by inference. So the only pramana is the word of the scriptures. But why should I accept the scriptures? I need not. But that also means that if I have no means to invalidate them either, this is where faith comes into picture. We use the word astika for someone who has faith in the words of the scripture, and nastika for one who has no faith in them. The upadesha given by the guru is for the good of the disciple and it should be unshakable. Let's move a little further. We have five sense organs. Our Guru Swami Paramarthanandaji explains it as Upajivya Pramanam. It is a Swataha Pramanam. It is reliable. What it reveals is the ultimate knowledge. And this is Shraddha. This is not blind faith. And of course, it is born out of inquiry. If you go one step deeper trying to understand it, the first stage is what we see from the eyes or hear, we have full faith in what we see and we have full faith in what we hear. We don't doubt it. It's not blind faith. So the first stage, Upajivya Pramanam, is the Swataha Pramanya Jnanam. The second stage is the one primary source cannot be questioned by the other primary source. Very easy to understand. What you see through the eyes, the ears cannot question. What the ears hear, the eyes cannot question. Hence, we have five sense organs and five Upajivya Pramana, which are Swataha Pramana Jnanam. Now, our Guru introduces the sixth primary source to expand the horizon. We know that all the Upajiva Pramanas have limited information being given to our minds and our brain. And this expansion of the primary source is a blessing from our tradition. There is no obstruction from this wonderful blessing to any other source of knowledge. And these Vedas are the Pratyaksha Pramana. It is oftentimes mentioned in the Brahma Sutra by Veda Vyasa that the Vedas are the Pratyaksha Pramana. Such a Vedanta Vichara, where we clear the doubts and get Jnana Yogyata, is the entire aspect of Mananam. Use it to progress in science, both materialistically and spiritually. And that means moksha. Not using it is like a loser. You just lose. Like Gandhari, she could have used her eyes to see what her blind husband could not see and help him to make proper decisions. Instead, she chose to blindfold herself, and the whole picture of life was lost. Now we shift a little bit into a little aspect of Shraddha as told by Bhagwan in the Gita Shastra. A question is raised by Arjuna. Arjuna Uvacha. Ye Shastra Vidhi Mutsrajya Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha Tesham Nishtha Tuka Krishna Sattva Maho Rajastatmaha. And he wants to know in this question what exactly is Shraddha in the chapter Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga. And Sri Bhagavan Uvacha says, Trivida Bhavanti Shraddha Dehinam Sasvabhavaja Satviki Rajasi Chaiva Tamasi Chetitam Shrunu. Clearly understand. I'm going to tell you, hear it from me, is what Bhagavan says. Every human being is born with innate faith, which can be of three types: sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Now, the next point that comes out is he also goes to say that sattvanu rupa sarvasya shraddha bhavati bharata shraddha mayonyam purusho yo yaschadra sa eva saha. According to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes of that nature which he has acquired. And now there is a caution in the Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga. Shraddhaya paraya taptam tapastatvid vidham naraihi afalakankshakshitir bhutyaihi satvikam parichak Kshate. The threefold penance performed by balanced people with supreme faith without any expectation of reward, which is the prasada buddhi and the aspect of sattvic part, which is Ishvara Arpana Bhava, helps us to improve and increase the sattvic aspect of this Shraddha and do away with the lower forms of Shraddha. O son of Partha, whatever acts of sacrifice or penance are done without faith are termed as asat. They are useless in this world, and in the next world is a big caution given by Bhagwan, the Jagat Guru himself, Krishna Paramatma, in the 28th verse of the same chapter, as Ashraddhaya Hutam Dattam Tapastatvam Kritam Chayata Asidhyuchate Partha Nacha Tapratyeya no Iha. Whatever is done without Shraddha is of no use and no value, and it is considered or termed as asat. A yajna done without Shraddha is not sattvic and hence a hindrance to spiritual growth. We have this example of a thief in one room, and there is a partition to another room. He has been given a slight information that there is lots of ingots of gold in the other room. He is not going to stay quiet and have a good night's sleep till he finds his way to get that gold. Exactly the same way, the intense desire for Shreyas to get that gold needs Shraddha. The ignorant man, the man devoid of Shraddha, the doubting self, runs to ruins is a much bigger caution. Agnischa Shraddhadhanascha Samshayatma Vinashyati. With this, I wish to give my humble pranams to our teacher as well as to our Guru, Swami Paramarthanandaji, to have allowed us to use his talk and his material about this topic of Shraddha. Hari Om.